Hello, I've currently got a massive YouTube project in progress called Magic Revelations. Things have not exactly gone to plan with that because I thought it would all be finished by now, but after all this time I'm nowhere near that stage. To save you all waiting too much longer for me to upload anything, I've just recently made a slightly quicker and easier prequel video to Magic Revelations called A Colourful Detour. If you've not yet seen that, check it out. In this video I'm going to be talking a little bit about A Colourful Detour, but I'm mostly going to be talking about the progress I've made so far with Magic Revelations. But first I'm going to talk to you about Hue. Now Hue is a tool you can use in digital artwork and video making, and it's something I'm going to be using a lot in Magic Revelations. You can set the hue anything from -180 to 180. I'm going to show you what it looks like. At the moment the hue position is 0. I'm now going to change it to -60. So as you can see, everything's looking a little bit different. I'm now going to change the hue position to -120, followed by -180. Now, -180 and 180 look exactly the same. So I'm now going to change the hue position to 120, and then penultimately to 60, and then back to 0 again. Now, to explain hue a little bit more clearly, I've drawn a colour wheel, and I'm going to show you that right now. Impressive, huh? This colour wheel is the first of 2 pictures that I've drawn especially for this video. I've labelled the 3 primary colours, red, green and blue, and the 3 secondary colours, yellow, cyan and magenta. And I've given these 6 main colours wider segments in the colour wheel. And if you look at the rings, the ring that is halfway between the centre and the edge is wider than the rest of them. That ring shows the colours in their purest form. If you go from that wider ring to the centre, the colours are getting darker, and if you go from that wider ring to the edge, the colours are getting paler. Now, let's see what happens if I change the hue from 0 to -60. So now, all of the colour words are pointing to the wrong colours. And in the wheel, the colours have quite literally moved 60 degrees clockwise. As the hue reduces in value, the colours move clockwise. If I now put the hue to -120, the colours move round another 60 degrees clockwise. And if I now put the hue to -180, you might now be able to see why -180 and 180 look exactly the same. Because the red started at the top, and it's now moved 180 degrees clockwise right down to the bottom. You could also move the red 180 degrees anti-clockwise right to the bottom. So now I'm going to put the hue on 120, and then 60, and then back to 0 again. Now here's something you might find quite interesting to see. I'm going to show you that colour wheel again, but this time I'm going to adjust the hue in a different way to how I've shown it to you previously in this video. I'm going to do a smooth cycle right the way around the hue spectrum. So here's the colour wheel again, and let's start the hue cycle now. So now you can see the colour wheel appears to be rotating round, and I think I'll throw in a second revolution for good measure. This here is about the closest to digital animation you're going to get out of me. Well, for now at least. You never know what the future holds though. Okay, now that we've covered hue, I'm going to talk to you about Magic Revelations. That video is going to feature quite a few things. I'm going to write and record my own music for it, but the main feature of Magic Revelations is going to be this. I'm going to draw my own colourblind test plates. I expect you've probably seen colourblind test plates before. They look like this. And this here is my very first one that I've drawn myself. Now you probably know how these work. In this one there is a number, and if you're colourblind you're not going to be able to see it. At least not until this happens. What's happening here is another one of those smooth transitions right the way through the hue spectrum. And at some point you're going to be able to see the number. It's going to be magically revealed for you, hence magic revelations. There'll be plenty more where that came from. So as you will have seen, in that colourblind test plate the number was 14. The reason why I chose 14 is because it's 2014 now. And also, 2014 is the year I was expecting Magic Revelations to be finished and uploaded. But I no longer have high hopes on the matter. Anyway, there are different kinds of colourblind test plates out there. The standard ones are ones that have numbers in, like you've just seen. But there are also test plates with shapes in, some have words in, some will have a squiggly line going from the left to the right, and some have special pictures in. But whatever it is that's hidden from the colourblind person's view, there'll be lots of pairs of colours that look similar to the colourblind person, but different to people with normal vision. Probably the most common types of colours you would find in a colourblind test plate would be yellowy colours. So for example, if there's a number in there, the colours that make up the number will be different shades of yellow with a tinge of red. And the colours that make up the background will be different shades of yellow with a tinge of green. And the reason why you can use hue to reveal to the colourblind person what's in the test plate is that you're changing those colours that look similar to colours that look different. I'm now going to demonstrate this by showing you the second picture I've drawn especially for this video. What you see here are four very unusual looking shapes. The two on the left are red and green, and the two on the right are cyan and magenta. I could have done this demonstration with four plain circles of those colours, but I thought I would go down the creative road instead. Now, there are actually three forms of colourblindness. They've all got special names, I don't know what they are, but if you have the most common form of colourblindness, you're going to get red and green mixed up. And you're also going to get cyan and magenta mixed up, because cyan is made up of blue and green, and magenta is made up of blue and red. So there's still that red and green confusion. Now, even if you have this form of colourblindness, you're not going to see two shapes on the left-hand side that are the same colour, and two shapes on the right-hand side that are the same colour. But I'm just going to show you something. I'm temporarily going to darken the right-hand side of the screen so that you can focus on the red and green. Now, if I change the hue position to -120, then the red and green suddenly become blue and red. Now, it may look like I've changed the shades because these now look drastically different, but I haven't changed the shades of either of these, only the hue position. Back to the hue position 0 again. I'm now going to move the hue to 120. And now the two shapes have become green and blue, and again they look drastically different to how they were when the hue position was on 0, like now. So I'm now going to move the darkened area to the left-hand side so you can focus on the cyan and magenta. So again, I'm going to change the hue position to -120, and now the cyan and magenta have become yellow and cyan. So they look very different from the original cyan and magenta where the hue position's on 0. I'm now going to put the hue position on 120. Now the cyan and magenta become magenta and yellow, and again look very different to when the hue position was on 0 and they were cyan and magenta. And now I'm going to do that nice little cycle around the hue spectrum again for you, because it looks very good on many colourblind related pictures. And then we're about to get back to the hue position 0. I spent a fair bit of time trying to make the shades of the red and green shapes as close as possible, and I did the same for the cyan and magenta. And I also made the backgrounds on both sides blend in with the shapes.